clap. They all run at slightly different times.
I'm
going to fix it all up every now and again. Yeah, you please do the clap every now and again. Yeah, so then it can match up later on. All right, well, that's fine. I think it's a good start. Anyways, good morning, ohayo gozaimasu, buenos dias, and guten morgen. Today I'm joined with my friend from, I'd say, like maybe 8 years ago, Joshua.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It really doesn't feel like that long.
No.
I think I was speaking with my other friend, Ruben. He was saying that even though we go on long periods of time not seeing each other, it doesn't feel that long because, there's like a good connection there. There's like there's some kind of organic connection there.
Mm-hmm.
But so today we're going to be talking kind of on self-identity, just kind of being comfortable with literally with your own skin. It's a pretty simple thing to say, kind of being comfortable. So if you want to expand more on that, okay. If you feel more comfortable speaking on exactly what you were telling me about self-identity, go ahead, man.
Okay. Well, basically, I am starting the process of transitioning my gender, and so it took me a while to get comfortable with doing this and taking this step, and it's been a very long journey. And I would say it was mainly because of wrestling with my faith, as well as with everything that I knew what being trans was according to the world, and just bad representations.
Definitely a lot of misconceptions, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't see the correlation between you can still be, I guess, faithful to a religion or faithful to God, and still, have your own self-identity. Like you said, transgender. People don't really associate. If anybody's, homosexual or transgender, it's like they can't be in love with God, or they can't have a relationship with God because that goes against, I guess, biblically, what's it called? The homosexuality is a sin, right? So biblically,
that's what,
in a way,
and that's what it says. But during this process, I've learned that's actually a mistranslation. Although it was first added into the Bible by Americans in the 1940s.
So more like colonists, right? Or later colonists, or after Civil War.
It was 1946 or 1949, something like that. And it was the RSV version, I believe. So it was the most popular version, and they later decided to redact it and change that. But by that time, they had agreed to not make any changes to that version for 10 years. So for 10 years, it had homosexuality in it. And then every other Bible company that wanted to update
kind of started adopting that.
Yeah.
Just kind of started adopting that into their version.
Just spread.
Just kind of spread. Yeah, because even with myself, I've been kind of realizing that it was kind of how would you say, misconstrued, or it was weird to neglect people or to have lack of love towards other people just because they felt a certain way about themselves. And so I know, we met through a church group, and which was great. It was a necessary period of time for our lives. I think if it wasn't for that church group, we would have realistically, I don't think, ever met out there in the real world. I think we would have probably passed by each other. I know I used to go to the movie theater, so I know you used to, at that time, you used to work at the movie theater. So again, I would have just, anytime I needed concessions, I would have seen you, but never interacted really.
Right.
So and through that church group, I know there was many times where I was told that there's the Bible is very cutthroat, where it's black and white, so there are no gray zones. And I know that's what I was kind of speaking to you through text, was that I think realistically in life there have to be gray zones. Otherwise, how could we say we truthfully can be compassionate to one another or be understanding with one another? I just realized the GoPro isn't on. Really? On your end?
Yeah, it just turned off.
Oh, I think it's because it's connected to the laptop. Oh, that's fine. Well, this can still be in the video. It's okay. I don't care. Again, I want this to be as organic as possible, so any hiccups like this, it's totally fine. I'm totally okay with any tangents in this podcast. It's completely fine with me. I'm not gonna be nitpicky about it, because in a way,
It adds character.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be so linear about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know identity is it's a weird thing. It's definitely something that people have conflicts over. That they're not accepting when a lot of times they say they want to be accepting to anybody and everybody, but. Yeah, I mean, like, how did you? So you said you were saying that you started realizing through just kind of really seeking out maybe truer definitions than what were written in or misconcepts.
Well, how far back do you want me to go?
Yeah, as far back as you feel comfortable going. To be honest, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just.
Well, I'll just start from the very beginning then. So, I first kind of I knew like who I was like basically as soon as I was conscious, and I didn't really think anything of it, and I didn't really think I was different, because like when you're a little kid you don't really think about like, oh, I have these parts downstairs, like that must mean I have to do this or think this way or act this way. I was just like, oh, okay, this is what I like, I like hanging around with these people, I think the same, and that just happened to be like girls.
Yeah.
And like I just naturally like clicked, and like how we thought was like the same. And then when I got into kindergarten is when like I started getting pushback for just being myself, and like other people were like, no, you have to be this way, you have to go like play with these toys, or you have to like do this or that, and like it just always felt forced and like not real.
Yeah. I can start to understand with that, because even with my daughter, sometimes she feels like she only had. Well, I think with her grandparents on my wife's side, they I think sometimes would be like, oh no, those are girl toys. I think even my parents, my mom would actually be the one to say also like, hey, those are this is meant for girls, or that meant for boys. But me and my wife always encourage like, you know what, they're just toys. I mean, who are we to implement that? Like, oh, that's supposed to be for girls, or that's supposed to be for boys. We also have a what is it called, nephew, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna say it because I don't want who getting a little bit upset. So we have a nephew who actually he loves to play with Barbie toys.
Okay.
He loves it. I mean, at the same time, we kind of chuckle about it every now and again, just because my brother gets a little bit bothered about it. But
yeah,
I think personally it's perfectly fine if he likes Barbie toys. I remember being younger too, and anytime like my sister would leave her Barbies like lying around, I would undress them when I was like 6 years old, I would kind of undress them and be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I was just observing the anatomy. I have no idea. I mean, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, okay.
The anatomy. But even when I was 6 years old, my sister would leave the Barbies, and I'd kind of play around with them with my G.I. Joes. And it was completely plain. But obviously, let's say if an adult saw me during that time, in the 90s, they'd be like, oh, what are you doing? That's a girl toy,
Yeah, it was a lot different back then.
Play with your boy toys. So I can definitely understand with that. I guess the older generations definitely implement past thought process to the younger generations, whether it be a positive or a negative. And that's something we have to change more of. Well, is it gonna be harmful in the future, or is it gonna be it's not gonna, who is it gonna harm? Is it just, does it harm our ideals?
I think people are scared of change because they don't trust like the good in people, and I think also they don't trust like that some people are actually different from them and are outside of like their boundaries, but that doesn't mean like they're bad. It just means that they're different. And if you think about it, like that's what Christianity is supposed to be about, is like it started out as like a collection of misfits who were rejected by society because they were different, and they thought about the world different, and they thought that we could be better, and that's what that's what Jesus was basically teaching, is like
kind of really preaching
there's a better way.
Yeah.
And it made people feel weird about them because they're like, they had expectations of what they thought was right or wrong.
Yeah, because he basically contradicted their current ideals.
Yeah.
Their current philosophies. Yeah.
But yeah, back to like how I got to the realization of being trans, it was just more like growing up after like kindergarten, once I started getting more pushback, then I started getting called gay more from like just everybody. And then I started kind of like noticing that the other kids who would be my friends when we were little, like as we got older, they started to turn on me in a way and just like also making fun of me and not wanting to be around me because I was like different. And then that was when I feel like I started to try to see, okay, maybe I should try to fit in more. And then I would say that was the start of me trying to like find if I could be like what kind of guy I could be and if I could just be like normal. And I would say that started from like 4th grade all the way through about to when I met you.
Yeah, because I mean, if I could say something for myself as well.
Yeah.
I know. I back when it was in elementary school, I was also being accused by especially my older siblings. They would always call me, "Oh, you're so gay. You're gay." It's like, and they would confuse me because I'm like, "What does that mean? What does that even mean?" Because I was still a little kid and I didn't understand this concept of being gay, which was like obviously. When I would watch the Flintstones, you'd watch, and have a gay old time. Yeah. So I was like, oh, it just means happy, right? Just gay means happy.
It was supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to. And then obviously it got changed somewhere along the lines of just, slang terms. And, I remember my older siblings, they would, constantly accuse me, oh, he's gay, doesn't like girls. I'm like, what does that even mean? I was so confused. Sometimes I was hurt because I was like, again, I was so confused. What does that mean? I mean, in middle school, there was a time actually where it was middle school. There's no reason to be so proud of it, but I was dating a lot of girls back then, and it came to a point where I wasn't dating anybody for like a week. At the same time, like, it's a middle school. Who can really call that dating, right? But anyways, there was a week where I wasn't dating anybody, and I myself, I was like, maybe I am gay. Maybe I don't like girls. Maybe I, then I asked myself, I'm like, no, I like girls. I know I'm not gay. And then for some reason, I think there's a really bad breakup I had with a girl. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you the way I hurt you, but I think because of how I guess in a way insulted her, people, even in school, they started calling me, wait, Everardo, are you gay? Is that why you I'm like, I don't think I am. Right. It was like, because I have questioned myself. It's like, do I have an attraction for men or women? And I'm like, I don't think I've ever, gotten my Jimmy up for a guy. So I'm like, just to be honest, but it's just like, I was like, no, I don't think I am. I know I'm not. Even in elementary school, like anytime we would go to the swimming pool, I was actually kind of embarrassed because I guess my chest was always like kind of a little bit like large. Okay. In a way, so like, I definitely would have people like kind of bully or pick on me, and currently actually there's people that still do that to me, but in a way I don't get like considered bullying anymore, where they flick my chest or they tell me I have man breasts, and I'm like, well, I remember in middle school I was doing a shit ton of push-ups. Yeah. Maybe that's why that's why that is. And so I was embarrassed to go to the swimming pool because I'd always have to have a t-shirt on. I didn't like having being shirtless. But as soon as like high school started coming along, I started working out more. I went to pools. I would actually see people like look at me and be like, oh damn, it's actually pretty fit. It's like, damn, I wish I had pectorals like him. And so I mean, there's just a lot of conflicting things with like self-identity. It's like, obviously people pick on you, it could be definitely close relatives. It can definitely be people, even in church group, the church that we're in. Yeah. The guy Joey, he had a similar, I guess, aspect that I have, where like our chests are kind of bigger than usual, like especially like we work out as well. But I know we would like kind of like pick on each other, like, oh, he'd tell me sometimes like, oh, you should probably get a brassiere for those or something like that. Dang. And I would tell him that too. Well, if you're telling me this, oh, you should also get a brassiere as well, right? Like, and I actually thought that was also kind of weird, especially for a church group, because especially a church group that was saying that it's very black and white, where you could clearly see that there was a lot of gray zone going along. But again, we're human. We're human. So, we all make errors. We all fail in certain areas of life. Yeah. But, yeah, it was just, I mean, I'm glad we met through that church group, to be honest. I'm glad we got to, grow with each other. But yeah, continue on with what you were saying.
Well, I'm glad that we met too. It was like really random too. Like, the weird thing about the church group, by the way, is like, I remember I was in California like the year before, and I think that was like either my first or second year back to Oregon, and I was just having a hard time making friends once I got back, because PSU was a lot different from my last school. And like, I remember one day I was just like, God, please help me to like make some good friends.
Yeah.
And then literally like the next day, I can't even remember his name. It was the guy in the group.
Oh, he played a guitar, right?
Played the guitar.
Matt.
Yeah,
Matt. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Cool dude.
He knocked on my dorm room door and was like, yo, want to join a church group? And I was just like, okay. I hear you.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like worked out. But
yeah, that was fun. It was fun. It was a bit nerve-wracking going door to door on because you almost felt like a Jehovah's Witness, or you felt like a Mormon, or walking, knocking on people's doors. Although, to be quite honest, I feel like Jehovah's Witnesses, they're a bit more more frustrating to encounter. Anyways, I've definitely had my own walk in religion. I've definitely sought out like faith, or I guess more of truth. I've definitely sought out truth. Truth in life. Not exactly religion, because I know when I was told that whether I wanted to be religious, I was like, no, never do I want to be religious, because that I just see a lot of negatives. Being religious, people get zealous on certain aspects. Again, fighting against people that are trans, even though the person's probably not even doing anything wrong. They're just trying to find themselves, and they're just trying to live life, and and have that have that aura, have that energy go on to others near them. Have them continue producing love amongst one another. No matter who you meet. So, yeah.
And that's a good point that you talk about producing love, because like, I don't know, like looking back on it now, it's just kind of like I felt like, in a way, denying this part of me. Over time, I felt like it was kind of slowly turning me into like this emotionless robot, because when you have to like basically when people are telling you that who you are is wrong, because they don't think that you're really who you are, they just think that you're like, for lack of a better word, like crazy, or you're just overly emotional, or like what, I don't know, they just don't understand it, and so they keep telling you that no, if you do it, you're going to hell, like this type of stuff. And
and that was like basically the clearest thing, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna go to hell. It's a funny thing to be scared of, but to be honest, I could care less about that. I think one thing I have told myself is I just want to be the best person I can be, not just for myself, for my daughter, for my parents, my family, my wife. I want to be just the best person I can be. My friends, I want to just try to make good connections and just kind of relate with life. Allow our perspectives that we grew up on, or grew up with, that allowed us to be who we are right now, and change with it. Because I think it is a good thing to adapt, and even myself, I've started realizing maybe evolution is more of just again, just an adaptation of thoughts, and just being willing to kind of change with it in a good way. So I have definitely allowed my mind to evolve. I know last year I had some encounters with certain people that were I guess zealots with homosexuality, and it kind of stunk, because these were the kind of people that were similar to those Christian zealots, where they're like enforcing people, you have to follow this religion, you have to do it. So there was people even that I encountered that were like in the restaurant industry, co-workers that would be like, oh, everybody should be gay, everybody should be homosexual. That didn't make any sense, because it's like you're basically doing the same thing that you're fighting against.
Yeah.
So I was just so confused. It's like, what are you trying to do, buddy?
Right.
Like, Aren't you trying to just, spread love and joy? And, to be honest, to this day, I have no problem with anybody who's homosexual, who's trans. I actually have another really good friend who is trans. I have another couple other good friends that I work in the restaurant industry who have been going through in the past, I think, year or two, through, I think, they've been applying. I keep forgetting what it is. The hormones, the hormones. They've been transitioning. Some of them are just doing transitions where one of them, he does have a girlfriend and he loves his girlfriend, but he just feels like he would be more comfortable in his own skin, being able to, be a little bit, I guess, flamboyant. Is that the right word? I wouldn't say flamboyant. No.
Feminine?
Yeah, exactly. More feminine. I guess. What was there was a term that was used for guys that liked to be soft. What's that term again?
Effeminate?
No, is it effeminate? Oh, there's another one. There's one in Spanish, right?
Machista?
No, not machista. Not the ones that are like, the ones that are like, I like not fresa, but
I don't know.
I forgot too. Anyways, there's a specific word. Metrosexual.
Oh, okay.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Anyways.
Marimacha.
Yeah, marimacha. I guess so. Yeah, for Spanish. Yeah. Exactly.
It sounds cooler in Spanish.
It kind of does, yeah. Anyways, so I do have a couple of friends. I don't have anything wrong with people wanting to, and again, this is all my perspective. This is all just how I'm perceiving everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any problem with anybody who's just trying to live their life and just be themselves. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think, like I was saying before, I think we volunteered together in soup kitchens, right? I think we helped the homeless folks in the Portland area. I think we volunteered in other things. But I'd say as long as you're, trying to help your community, and have that energy, like I said before, expand outwards and just continue expanding a sense of community and continue expanding love. I think hell yeah, I'm all for whatever you want to do. But if you're just like a very right-winged person on whatever you're trying to do, that's where you can get into some troubles, because you're just again, you're doing the same thing that you disliked other people doing onto you. So it just kind of, to me, it didn't make any sense. I was like, what?
I think extremes on both the left and the right, like you were saying with the guys on your, can cause problems. But yeah, it was weird too, because like I never, even all the years that I've been trying to see if I could identify as a guy or be happy as a guy, like I couldn't help but feel like it was always pretend. And like I remember even when I was like a little kid and they were first starting to try to force me to be a certain way, I remember I would like go to the other boys and I'd be like, so this sucks, right? And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like pretending to be a boy, and they're like, what? And like that's when I realized like, okay, other people don't feel this way, and it was like, okay, weird. And just like how you said, where you never thought like you could be attracted to a guy, like it was kind of the same in reverse for me. Like it was weird, but I would always have the thought, like, especially once I like understood like what gay and lesbian and everything was, like, and I was starting to find myself like in puberty and everything, and I was just like, I don't think I'm a lesbian, like
no,
that's what it felt like.
No, I think those kinds of subjects were brought in South Park, where I think there were some of the kids were in the South Park episodes that were like sticking tampons in their bums, and I think they were also saying
gerbils.
Gerbils.
Oh, I remember that episode. No.
And I think there was an episode where just because they liked a girl, they thought they were lesbian or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of like misconceptions and just malinformation being put out there. But yeah, go on with what you were saying. Sorry.
No problem. But yeah, just like that's how much like it felt like I felt the same as other girls. It was just like, I'm supposed to like them? Like, I don't get it. And like then I started noticing that the other guys were liking them, and I'm like, am I supposed to feel that way? Like, I'm like, what are they saying that I'm not seeing? And then like conversely, I was starting to be attracted to guys, and then I'm like, is this a choice or is this like, because it doesn't feel like one.
Yeah.
And
it just felt right to you.
Yeah,
right?
it just
it
kind
just
of
felt organic to you, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
And so then, like, also, like, when you're reading and studying that it's a sin, I think that's what a lot of heterosexual people who are Christian, they just really don't get. And I've noticed, like, when I've heard, like, straight people's testimonies and stuff where they're talking about their past, for whatever reason, a lot of them, when they kind of go off the deep end in, like, sex stuff, they end up towards the end, like, dabbling in homosexual stuff. And so I think their view of it is like, oh, you're only that way if, like, you're way at the end of, like, being super lustful. And they don't get, like, it's a different form of, like, love. And, like, it's like your relationship with your wife, like, it fulfills you in a way that a friendship with a guy just doesn't fulfill you.
Right.
And it's like, that's what's really different. It's not like the sex is just kind of like an additional part of the relationship.
Yeah, I think
like,
I've heard many people kind of say that, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a bonus in a way.
But it's
Yeah.
really more like it fulfills you in a way that, like, a different type of relationship just doesn't. And that's not a choice. Like, I've tried to see if I could make it not that way, or, like, try to learn to a different way, but it's just like, no, I can't. And, like, it feels forced. It's like if you tried to force it with being in a relationship with a guy, like, it just wouldn't work. But
Yeah, because I mean, I'd say, like, here's a weird example. You know, you've seen Black Mirror?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you ever see the episode where those two best friends, they were playing video games and they got into the augmented reality?
Yes.
So that was conflicting with me as well, because you know,
Yeah.
obviously in the game, it was just basically your brainwaves in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was you could pretty much be whoever. You can be a female and a male,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess for some reason, somehow in the game they, like, functioned as if it were real life.
Yeah.
So in a way that was conflicting to me too, because I was just like, whoa. Well, I mean, that's just like a personality, you know. It's like these two people are best friends, but now that they can, in a way, fulfill that, you know, male, female, I guess, relationship.
Yeah.
In a way, it was okay, but it was also conflicting because it just didn't make sense. You know, at first, you know, they were fighting whether it's like, wait, are we gay or what?
Yeah.
And you know, when they ended up kissing in real life, they're like, no, this didn't feel right. That didn't feel right. But later on, I mean, obviously, you know, the guy told his wife, and the wife, well, she was also having affairs. You know, she was also having affairs with other guys. I think because, you know, there's like some kind of problem where he couldn't get it up anymore for her. And so I think at the end of the episode, like, the two guys, they continued on having a relationship, but virtually. But, you know, their mentality was there. You know, their friendship, their bond was there. But, you know, because it was, I guess, virtual, where they can finally be a female and a male, it just felt right. It just felt right. So I mean, it was in a way, it's conflicting to me, because I'm like, oh man, I wonder if I'd be like that with some friends that I played video games with, because, like, you know,
Yeah.
we always have fun, you know, always had fun, like, you know, our bonding together. But I don't know, it's kind of weird. I have no idea. Maybe one day technology will get to a point where it'll be like you can literally go into a machine and it'll just transform you completely into that person that you want to be. But who knows? I don't know. It was just kind of weird. I don't know. That's just like a weird tangent.
No, I definitely remember that episode.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that type of mentality I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think like, a lot of people feel like trans people, like, mentally are, like, especially trans women, they think mentally that they're the same as a drag queen, and, like, they're just men that like to dress up as a woman every now and then, or like to pretend, or like to trick other guys or whatever. But, like, it's really not, like, it's more just like on the inside you feel, you know, not even like you feel like, you know, but it takes a while to kind of accept that against the whole world basically telling you, like, you're making it up or you're wrong.
Yeah.
But, like, just like, you know, that you're a guy, like, I know that I'm not. And then the transition process is just to, like, make the outside match what's inside.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
yeah, I think, like, things with, like, that episode, like, I don't know, because it didn't really like tell a lot about the character's backstory, but it seemed like he was happy as a guy, and then he just kind of also liked experiencing that form of pleasure with his friend.
Yeah, in a way, it was kind of like somewhat of a conflict between a fantasy and whether maybe that person did feel more comfortable as a female. Because I mean, so I have a cousin that anytime he plays video games, he always picks the female character. Now, to me, in my eyes, I would understand playing female characters. I'm like, yeah, they make the female characters pretty hot. So of course, but I think for him, it's maybe it's a different mentality. Maybe it's he likes to play a female character because I don't know, maybe it feels right.
Yeah.
Mentally, there's like a spark.
Yeah.
It just feels right. But maybe that's the only thing that's the only right way to express it is through a video game. So I mean, I don't know. This is kind of like a thought, but yeah, I mean, it definitely ties into that where it's more of like, well, is it fantasy or is it just feels right? Yeah.
I think like it's hard to tell, but I think like people will tell you who they really are, and I don't. Especially nowadays, like with how society views trans people, I think anybody who is telling you like, hey, I am this way, I really don't think that they would do it for any reason if they didn't really feel like that on the inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then I would say like the last like 4 or 5 years, I really just tried to like have more experiences and like see if I could just be like happy as a gay guy. And then like that even was like a no, because like even that, whether it was like
it's still conflicting. It was just this is still conflict where I mean sure, but it just didn't feel right because like you said before, you just didn't match your inside who you felt as and how you should actually appear.
It's like also I found like every time whether it was like a straight girl or a gay guy, like in the way I look on the outside, they want me to be something that I can't really be for them, and then they also love the parts about me that I like the least about myself.
Right.
And so then it just like it makes it hard to do anything. And so then I would say like it happened this November where I had a dream. It was like the beginning of November, and I had this dream that was just really weird, and I didn't really understand what it meant, like on a conscious level.
Yeah.
But just something in me told me like, okay, it's time for me to like move forward and just like embrace who I am. And then also like just a lot of things happened at once where it just kind of confirmed like you should move forward. And I really felt like it was God telling me like because I felt like these past 7 years I've just been paused in a way, which is weird. Like I haven't really aged that much. People still think I'm the same age that I was when I met you. And, like
I think usually when I shave, people definitely confuse my age. They think I'm younger than
and I'm
than
like,
I am,
thank you,
you know?
but no. Like,
yeah.
And
I'm like, hey, screw it, why not?
Right.
Sure.
But I feel like I got the sense that things are about to start moving forward, and like I had to try to like learn to love myself versus trying to find it with other people or in other like things like art or anything.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the most important thing in life is definitely accepting yourself first. Definitely loving yourself before you can really express that love to other people. I mean, I think it doesn't work the same with everybody. I think some people can actually love others without loving themselves. I don't know how they do it, but I mean they do it somehow, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm actually really glad in these past few years that I've had also multiple friends that they've just been moving on with their life and accepting themselves. I've had a couple friends come and tell me, hey, I've been transitioning, and I've been just as yourself. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I mean, I have nothing against it. I think that's great if you're trying, just get your thoughts aligned with how you think you should look and how you should feel.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. I think there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I mean, you're not hurting anybody really. I know to some people, you know, you're hurting their ideals, but you know, at the same time, you know, screw them, right? I think that's the tough part for a lot of people that have, you know, fought to find their own self-identity, because they're always fighting with other people's ideals, with, you know, how, well, what's grandma gonna think, what's mom gonna think, you know, what's my cousin gonna think, or what's my sister, my brother, you know, what's my family gonna think? Because I think those are the first people that usually we're the most afraid of, to, you know, either come out or just tell them, hey, thinking of transitioning.
Yeah. That's a good point too. That was another big reason why I feel like it took me so long to accept this, and I really wanted to try to make it work to not have to transition, because I am my mom's only child, and so like part of me just felt really guilty about being this way, because I felt like I really wanted to like give her a grandchild one day.
Yeah.
And like I also, like, I'm her only child, so I don't know if like how she would respond, or like if she would have been disappointed. But I made the decision to tell her the day after Thanksgiving of 2020, and because I wanted to give her like one more holiday where things were normal.
Yeah.
Or normal.
Yeah. Normal. What's normal?
Right.
I don't think there really is a normal.
And
but yeah.
I'm really glad that I did, because like, yeah. And then when I texted her, like I told myself, I'm like, I'm gonna do it the day after Thanksgiving, and the day came, and then it was like 8 p.m. and I still hadn't done it, and I was like, okay, Joshua, you just gotta do it. And so then I texted her basically this essay, and I just told her, this is what I'm gonna do, this is why I feel this way, and this is kind of like the path that I took to get here. And then I just called my friend like right after, and like I started crying, and like she talked to me, and we just like talked for like an hour and a half, and she was just like, it's gonna be okay, like she'll love you. And I'm just like, okay. And then my mom did end up texting me like later that night. It was just like, I love you and not your gender, and like I do want you to be happy, and so like whenever you feel comfortable, like I would love to learn more about the process and just be there for you basically. And so that just made me feel really good. And then I would say, aside from my mom, like I did learn like growing up just to stop giving a fuck about like, stop caring about other people.
That is fine, man. It adds color to language, so I think that's fine. I think I also had an issue where when we were in the church group, because I was involved with that church group for I'd say about 2 years and a half after I had ended up drowning. And you know, I'd prayed to God, I just let me find truth, you know, thank you for basically saving me, you know. Having people around me that, you know, took me out of the water and, you know, saved me. So I was like, you know, thank you for all that. And, you know, I was seeking truth. I think I'd been seeking God out since I was, I'd say, consciously, you know, when it comes to seeking God out. I think I was the most conscious of Him when I was 8 years old. And I know my mom, since, you know, we're Hispanic, we grew up, you know, being Catholic, so she would always take us to church when we had my first communion, all those other things, you know, those drip baptisms where you just drip water on the forehead and you're baptized, and you know, although we obviously learned what the real definition of being baptized is, being fully immersed into the water and, you know, coming out new. The funny thing with my baptism, when we were in the ICOC group, I was actually baptized forward into the water.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, hey, I mean, you know, I was immersed in the water, right? I was immersed in the water, so yeah, I was baptized. But anyways, I even struggled with myself, because prior to that, man, cursing was part of my vocabulary on a daily basis, and it kind of made me who I was. Not that I would say it's a good thing in a way. I mean, it really depends how you take it. I know my younger brother growing up, I taught him, I think the misconception that we teach our children is to, no, don't say bad words, or, you know, don't listen to bad words. You know, we'll cover their ears or cover their eyes with those kinds of things. I think it's better to expand their knowledge. Just, hey, you know what? Yeah. To be honest, maybe we're gonna try to stop not curse at home, but you're gonna hear cursing in school. That's where I learned most of my curse words was in school. So
Same.
it's like you're gonna learn a lot of curse words in school. You're gonna hear a lot of curse words in school. Just here's the thing. Here's the best thing that can grow your vocabulary in a beneficial way, where it's like you'll hear them, just don't repeat them.
Right.
So it was pretty successful. I mean, I think it was recently in the past 2 years, him and being in high school, that he finally started cursing a little bit. You know, little droplets here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. I was like, oh. But I'm like, oh, he's growing up. You know, you can make your own choices when you get a certain age. So I mean, I think that's perfectly fine. Even with my daughter, you know, I'd say in my home, in our household, our language is pretty damn colorful.
Yeah.
So, my daughter definitely hears us saying curse words, you know, from time to time. But the thing I tell her is like, hey, you know what? I mean, you're gonna hear these here at home, but you're also gonna hear them outside with, you know, friends. Once you start going to school, you're gonna hear them in school.
Yeah.
People are gonna try to tell you to say them, force you to say them. I think it's fine that you hear them. There's nothing wrong with that. You're gonna hear them wherever, movies, etc. The list goes on and on. But just don't repeat them for now, because it does sound kind of, you know, it does sound a little. You're more angelic as a child when you don't say curse words. I know I've seen family members, like distant family members, who purposely, intentionally teach their kids how to say, you know, like words like pendejo or pinche or, you know, or puto, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I get it. They have, you know, the little squeaky voice, and it sounds kind of funny, but why would you want them to say that? Because they're gonna say that to random strangers, and I think that's not okay. I understand that, you know, kids are gonna hear curse words anywhere they go, but there's no point in a little child repeating it. I mean, if they're older in high school, they finally decide to start cursing. I mean, I think they're at an age where they can kind of decide on their own what they want to do. So yeah, you know, and that kind of goes along with damn fire alarm. Screw you. Anyways,
it's real.
Yeah, it's real. So that's good. That's fine. So yeah, I mean, I think that also, you know, plays a huge part in homosexuality. Sometimes I've encountered certain families that, you know, they blind their kids to other people being, you know, homosexual, or they basically teach homophobia to other people instead of educating. Hey, you know what? This makes that person feel comfortable. So the best thing you can do is respect how that person feels. Don't ridicule them. Don't accuse them for believing a different thing, because again, that kind of goes into bullying, and bullying's pretty fucking awful, you know.
Yeah.
Bullying can cause people to commit suicide, or even worse, it can cause, if they have a family that has a case full of guns, they can go do a freaking school shooting, because, you know what? All right, well, all these people bullied me, so I'm gonna go do a school shooting. So it's like, again, it's like bullying has. I can not see any pros other than if that person was so thick-skinned where they grew out of that, you know, like, you know, it's like, you know what, whatever bullying you did made me who I am today, and I'm strong for it, you know. So there obviously there's some people that fire alarm, stupid fire alarm, anyways.
This is real life.
It is. Good thing it's snowing outside, right?
Yeah.
We can't burn. No, I'm just kidding.
It's too cold to burn.
Oh, God's just trying to smite us. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not. So I think instead of blinding our children. Wow. Great.
We should have just kicked them out before.
Right?
Locked all the doors.
Locked all the doors. It's like, you guys can stay outside.
You guys want to play out in the snow?
You guys can stay outside. But anyways, yeah, I think it's a better thing to do is just be accepting of others. Be respectful, most of all. Because even me, I also don't like, you know, let's say homosexuals that attack, you know, I guess straight people who are just trying to be straight.
Yeah.
Or there are homosexuals that do try to force homosexuality onto people who, you know, like, in a way, I think me and my wife were kind of looking at it last year. We were looking at it as if there were, you know, certain homosexual zealots that were trying to force people into becoming homosexual. I think there were also some people that did go through the transgender process but regretted it later on, because in a way it was like a fad, you know. Like more people like were becoming gay, not because of choice, but more because like, oh,
They want
this
it to
seems
fit
this seems
in.
like a cool thing, you know, let's fit
Yeah.
in, you know, like the basic homosexuality is like the big thing right now. Transgender is the big thing right now.
Like last year, I met a girl in one of my Facebook groups. She went through the whole transition. She cut her breasts off and everything, and she ended up finding love through her same sex, that she was a female, not a male, and she regrets the whole like actual surgery that she did.
Wow.
The transitioning, yeah.
The transitioning, and right now she's like in deep depression because of it. You know, she doesn't have
Dang.
breasts. She can't like fulfill her man's like, you know, needs to look like a woman. So she went through all that, and then now she regrets it. And I feel like she did it because it was
A fad, right?
fad.
Like kind of a
Yeah.
trend. Yeah, and
because everybody was doing it. Everybody was talking about it.
Wow.
If you weren't doing it, then you're not cool enough to talk to. That was basically what was going on.
and it
Wow.
sucks because to some extent, I know like personally like what I've noticed in Los Angeles or in like the BuzzFeed culture, I feel like they push a lot of like leftist things and they like almost enforce it like a dictating. Like they're dictating it, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're forcing people, hey, follow this trend now or else you'll be smitten.
Yeah.
So
Or you're
again,
like a
yeah.
homophobe, a transphobe.
Yeah. So it goes back to the whole thing where it's like, well, these people that were fighting against religious, Christian beliefs, and now they're doing the same thing to other people where they're forcing them to believe or think a way that, they might not be comfortable doing, but, because, oh, well, maybe I'm going to get shunned or bullied or, ostracized from my friends if I don't follow along. And so, yeah, regrettable. There are some stories like what my wife said, where there are some people who did transition and they completely regretted it. But I knowing you, I know that's not a thing. I know you're not. You're definitely not a trend follower. So I know you. Yeah, exactly. So, even just hearing from what you've said, you've thought about this. You've really counted the cost about it. You've really, sat down and meditated with yourself. Just trying to find who you are and how you really are comfortable. And I really appreciate that. I think that's really great. I'm definitely not a person that tries to force my thoughts onto others. I always hated that. Most recently, I was working in with the place I had worked at last year. There was a guy that worked there that I have no idea, because you couldn't really ask people about anything because they'd get offended. So I think it was just kind of like from hearsay where this person did transition and they went from female to male, but now they like basically bully on their beliefs and opinions onto others like it's an absolute truth.
Yeah.
And I felt uncomfortable working. Like I felt like I couldn't like express myself as a straight man. It's like I understand, maybe they faced ridicule back in their school wherever they were. Like I think they were from Mississippi or something like that, and I'm pretty sure that was probably a very conservative state, or probably is a very conservative state. So I to a way, and I can understand, but at the same time, there's that borderline of respect. I respected for them being whoever they wanted to be, but when it came to the whole enforcing or dictating their opinions onto others that didn't want those opinions, that's where it's just like, all right, man, you're crossing the line right now.
I think they're probably like overcompensating, like on a pendulum, because I don't know, but it sounds like they were probably in an environment for a long time where they were forced against who they were for so long that when they finally broke free, they just like swung to the opposite extreme, and hopefully eventually they'll like come back down to the middle.
I hope so too, honestly. I think we should definitely all strive to really respect one another and respect our decisions we make. I mean, we all share this life in our own realities, truthfully. We all do live our own perception of the world. So yeah, I think as long as we have respect with that, we're not forcing other people, forcing our beliefs down their throats. I think we can live a really beautiful life, each and every one of us.
I think so too. And yeah, I'm like excited to start this journey. The last part of it was just like the most recent part, and like I am still a Christian, and
Cool.
Cool.
No, that's fine. I think that's great. I think people don't associate those two. They don't associate. They don't think you can be homosexual and still be a Christian. They don't think you can be a trans person and still be a Christian.
Right.
I feel like there's movies that I've seen from back in the 90s or 80s. I think the movie Too Long for You. Have you ever seen that one? Yeah. With what are the actors again? I always forget his name.
Wesley
From
Snipes.
Too Long for You, yeah, Wesley Snipes.
Forget the other guys. But
I
know
always
their,
forget his
their
name.
face.
Yeah, I know their faces too. Their faces are like right there.
Uh-huh.
I think one of them is a Hispanic guy, and then the other dude, what's his name?
He was from
He was in
Ghost.
Dirty Dancing.
Oh yeah, Dirty Dancing.
Yeah. Swayze? Patrick Swayze?
Swayze.
Patrick Swayze, there we go. Anyways, yeah, at first, like, to be honest, I think 10 years ago, no, more than 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I would have never watched that movie. I would have never thought anything good of it.
Yeah.
But I think the most recent time I watched it, where I could really grasp the understanding of it, was I think maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and I love that movie. That movie's freaking fun.
Yeah.
It is so fun. You know, there's these three people that, yeah, they're in drag, but they freaking rock it out and they love it. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. You know, then they also bring community. That community, like at the end of it, you know, they're all together. You know, it's like they're like, oh, okay, so this is what that is. Okay, it's not bad.
Right.
It's not bad like, you know, our leaders told us it was. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, we can accept these three people.
I think that's interesting too that you said their leaders told them, because I think that's a big problem with like American Christianity today. And it's like, I think also we kind of just stopped learning how to verify things for ourselves, and we just trust our pastors. And I think like also our pastors just grew up in a society where they learned that too.
Yeah, that it was a bad thing. It
Yeah.
was like, no, these people are bad. They're condemned to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And during this process though, like, I don't know, like my mom, she sent me to Christian schools growing up. And like, I remember it was always taught kind of like the principle that you shouldn't love anybody more than God. And so I was just like, okay. And that just always kind of stuck with me. And like, I do feel like I've always kind of felt his presence in my life in ways here and there. And like, so yeah, when I did make the choice that I wanted to do this, the last step that I took after I told all my mom and my friends and stuff, I was just like, okay, I just want to go to a church or talk to somebody and make sure that I can do this and like it won't be against God. And so I met with a pastor, and they basically were just like, thank you for sharing that with us, you're so brave, can we pray? And I was like, yeah. And we started to pray, and they're like, Lord, please help Joshua to realize that you made him a man. And I was just like, oh. But I could tell that they were from a loving place, but it just like didn't sit right. And so then like that though I'm kind of grateful for all of this, because it made me kind of grow closer to God on my own. Because then after that, like, I just was reading all the passages that they were talking about, and I was really just like, I was seeing on the surface why they were thinking that way, but then I remember, like, I just was praying, and like I literally got on my knees, and I was just like, God, like, I don't understand, like, if this is a sin. I really feel like you made me this way, so I don't understand like how the two are conflicting, and if you really don't want me to be this way, like, I'll give it to you. And if
because what's the worst outcome that comes out of that? You know, when people, they don't find their resolution. You know, I think
a lot of suicide.
Exactly. So that's actually what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I was gonna immediately say a lot of suicides happen because of that. Because, well, if I can't live this life, you know, the way, or I'm condemned regardless. So
and I was just like at a place where I was like, well, God, like, if you really don't want me to be this way, like, I'll give it to you. Just please grant me the strength to actually like be okay with not being this way, and teach me how to not be this way, because I don't even feel like it's a choice where I can unlearn it, because it's just like, if it felt like if
it's kind of already written into you.
Yeah,
you know? It's
like,
kind of written into your, I guess, coding, like a computer. It's already coded into you. Yeah.
And I kept picturing, I was like, if this identity was gone, would I still be here, or would like there be somebody completely different in this body, and everybody would like that person more because of the physical body? And then like I prayed, I asked for like wisdom and understanding, and I asked to see the Bible through God's eyes, and guess the weirdest thing happened. It was like it actually happened, and now I feel like the Bible has just been like taught wrong. And if you look at it, like even in Adam and Eve, with that story, everybody always quotes like God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and all this other stuff. But if you read it, what it says is God made man in his image. He made them male and female. And so if you think about that, if he made male and female in his image, that means both of them are in his image. So he embodies the masculine and the feminine. So really God is more, even though we refer to him as he, he's more of a non-binary spiritual entity. And I think people forget that. And then
yeah, because when it goes to the created in his image, the way I look at it is the created in his image, like as in the way we think, the way we can manipulate and create things. He created us, so we have that ability to create other things as well. In the way in his image is like, maybe to me it also stands as in I kind of look at it beyond the physical.
Right.
I don't even put the physical into place, because I think that's also just a misconception. Well, if we look like God, then God must look like us, right? And I'm like, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more of the way we can process things, the way we can create things, the way we interact with one another, the way we can create relationships. In my first podcast, I was talking with my friend. Well, to me, what I have come to the conclusion, obviously God is something is taught in the Bible that he's all around us. And the only way it makes sense to me, he then must be all the molecules that make up the world. Good and bad, he must be the atoms in our bodies, all the way down to the quarks that make us up. So, if that's the only way to me I can process that God is all around us. Because, he literally makes us all up. Everything. Not one thing is left untouched. So at that point, again, like I go beyond the physical. I go beyond the physical of, we are made in his image. In a way, kind of are made in his image because we are his creations. Yeah. We create things too. So. And
I agree too in the sense that like I don't think when he said he made us in his image, he meant like our physical form is
our 5 fingers and one in the right hand, our 5 fingers in the left hand.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think what he meant is like our spirit and our soul.
Yep.
And that's what's made in his image. And like I really don't think that like people's perception of the Bible is what it's trying to teach you. And I think like
I don't think so either, because like I also get irritated with certain hip-hop songs that say, if you're scared, go to church. Well, the way I read it, if you're not scared, go to church. Because you want to learn you want to learn the word and kind of put it into practice in your life.
Right.
I perceive it as you go to church and you learn the Bible because you want to be able to use this as a sword and shield, against against anything really, or towards beneficial things. So I was also just no, I think if you're scared and you're going to church, you're going for the wrong reasons. You're not going for the reason to pursue a relationship with God. You're going because, you don't know what to do. You're scared, and I don't think that's I personally don't think that's the right reason you should, seek a relationship with God.
Exactly.
I think it's not like you're scared, you should go to church. No. If you're brave and willing, you should go.
I think exactly, because like it teaches you really kind of what love should be, is like being able to trust, being able to stay committed, being able to like have faith that they are there and like they care for you back. And I think people who are scared are the ones that are like, well, I can't see it, I can't like know it right in front of me, so I'm gonna go with what I can know and like feel and touch. And like I think like that's really what's scary, is like living for what you feel like you can get. And I think that's kind of a more selfish way of living, but to each their own.
Yeah, I definitely agree, to each their own. I also think like if somebody doesn't want to pursue a relationship with God, and
That's their
okay.
choice.
I mean, it is your choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
I also know that something that was also kind of on my mind was how when like the conquistadors or the first pilgrimages came over here to the to the Americas, they were enforcing religious belief onto the natives and the indigenous peoples, and it's where like, oh, if you don't know God, you go to hell. It's kind of like, doesn't make any sense. I mean, they never knew God to begin with, or maybe they also knew an aspect of God that you didn't know. Again, so it goes back to the whole idea that I concluded that, I mean, God truly is around us all in the atoms and molecules that make us up. So in a way they did know a part of God, not the same way clearly that these missionaries knew it, but I mean.
And it mentions that in the Bible too. Like it mentions something along the lines of like, he's evident in his creations and his invisible nature and like things like that. And so I think like you're right on the right direction, because like, yeah, it talks about that too.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, if those things didn't happen, I mean, we wouldn't be here right now. So I mean, we definitely sure learn from our past, and learning from our past, and it's also good to learn from the mistakes that we commit to one another, where we shouldn't judge someone who is transitioning. We shouldn't be judgmental. It's not like they're changing our body. It's not like they're not changing our beliefs. Really, it's more of like we're accepting of a friend,
Right.
of a brother, of a sister, of a mother, whatever. I mean, doesn't everybody accept? What's the name? Kylie Jenner? What's Kim Kardashian's stepfather?
Yeah.
Or stepmother, I guess.
Caitlyn?
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah. So I mean, everybody accepts Caitlyn Jenner. So what's so wrong about accepting somebody who's basically not in the spotlight, not famous?
I think a lot of Christians forget that transgender people honestly are closer to what it would have been like for people of Jesus's time to accept him than they realize. Because if you think about it, if you saw him, like, you would just see like a normal man, and you would have to believe that what's inside of him is something supernatural.
Yeah, and like that he truly is the Son of God.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like the same way, like with someone who's transgender, like if you can believe that about Jesus, I don't understand how you can't believe somebody could be different than how they look on the outside, and like love them regardless.
Yeah.
And I think like Jesus would want you to love everybody unconditionally, and if you can't learn how to do that with a human being, where the Bible says all people are made in his image, like, and it says like those who like can do and love the least of these will truly love my Father in heaven. So I feel like if you can't love the people that you can't even fully understand, or like that are different from you in ways that might make you kind of uncomfortable, then how are you gonna like be comfortable loving a God that's like greater than you can imagine? And I'm sure like we won't be able to fully understand
a God
him.
that's unseen, or
Yeah.
I mean, people obviously they always look at it, it's like, oh, he's invisible, or or
And
whatever.
So many people want to believe that he's this white guy up on a chair, and I think they're going to be really surprised.
It's actually Korean Jesus.
That's Korean Jesus. Exactly. They're going to be upset.
They're going to be upset.
No, but I think if anything, anybody who's willing to be upset at that, or I guess so conservative in that way, probably, to be honest, probably won't make it there.
I think
probably won't make it there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just acceptance of people and being really respectful on no matter what someone again believes, as long as it's not hurting anybody else. I think we're solid. As long as you're not harming yourself or others, and I think you are, on the right path of life. You can do the best, the best that you can do, really. But yeah.
What? You never told me that you drowned though. What happened there?
I was trying to impress a girl.
Oh.
So
Before.
Yeah, it was before. So yeah, I was trying to impress a girl. I think I ended up telling that story to a lot of the people over there in the church group that we were part of. Because then they're asking, oh, how did you come to seek, God? I'm like, yeah, I drowned. So I just prayed and prayed. I sought the truth. One day my dad told me, oh, there's this group, I know of. Would you like to go? I'm like, oh man, I don't know that I want to go because I've one group that I was studying with, which were the Jehovah's Witnesses, like in my middle school years, I think it was.
Okay.
Or I think early high school years.
Yeah.
They came over here. We studied in Spanish, and it was beneficial because I was able to read in Spanish. I was able to expand my Spanish, knowledge pool a bit more.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was great. And after a year of like, hey, you should come with us one day, to the church down the street. I'm like, I don't really want to. And they told me, hey, it doesn't matter if you have shorts or you're just your t-shirt, that's perfectly fine. Just come on. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Let me just get my shoes on. I went. I didn't like it because everybody was judging me. Everybody was in their nice little dresses, their nice suits, their nice polished shoes, their nice slicked hair, and everybody was looking at me. I'm like, oh, who's this guy? What is he doing in our church? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, so after that, I was like, hell no, I don't want anything to do with Jehovah's Witness people. You guys are so extremely judgmental, and that was my experience. It wasn't anybody else's, but I was like, hell no. And anyways, I think it was. I was 18 years old. I think it was definitely after high school where I basically ended up drowning. And I finally, I think it was the third time my dad told me, hey, there's this group I know of. I went with him, and I thought it was really cool. I thought it was pretty diverse with with I guess the race of people that were there at the church group. I thought it was really diverse. I thought the music was freaking great. I thought the energy was awesome. I thought the genuine friendship of some people was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Although that is kind of disheartening for me because I do remember down the line a lot of these people telling me, oh, I'll always be your brother. It's like if you ever need help with anything, I'll always be there for you. Even if like for some reason you fall out, I'll always be there with you. And that was complete bullshit because I definitely tried contacting some of them, or I was still part of some of their Facebook groups that were like for the Easter events. And I think in the past 3 years I have taken my daughter to those Easter events. Yeah. And it was nice. It was nice seeing old faces, but at the same time, some of them were like, "Oh shit, what is he doing here? What is he doing here? We cut the vine already." Dang. It's like we cut the vine. The vine was rotted or whatever. And I thought that was kind of messed up because I was hoping, hey, so and so. I don't think I should mention names just because I don't want to say anything bad about anybody. So hey, Dad, it's great to see you again. Oh, how are you doing? But as far as I can tell, for them, it was kind of topical. Oh, yeah, nice to see you. Ha,
just trying to save face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so I thought that was kind of an asshole. No, realistically, it was an asshole thing to do because, you told me you would be my brother no matter what. You'd be my sister no matter what. But, some of them actually, there are a couple of them that were actually really genuine. They'll still, say what's up or, they'll say hi. If it's because, there are a couple people in that group that actually have the same birthday as I do, and I'll tell them happy birthday, and they'll tell me, oh hey, happy birthday, to my birthday, brother or whatever like that. Mm-hmm. And, it'd be genuine. But yeah, there are some of the other people that they've completely cut ties with me just because I fell out. Well, I just wasn't feeling comfortable there anymore. I just didn't feel comfortable anymore. No. I felt too forced. I did like meeting people because if it wasn't for the going and knocking on the dorm rooms, I would have never met you. I would have never met a lot of the other great people, along the way as well. Mm-hmm. So I do appreciate that experience. I'm grateful for it, but it was disheartening. Completely disheartening to know these people, some of these people that would say, I'll definitely be your brother, no matter what, and just went down the poop hole. So
I feel the same way about it as you do, because I'm really grateful that we got to have those experiences, and I really loved when we got to go to the conference in 2013 to San Diego. That was a lot of fun.
That was freaking cool.
Yeah,
that was fun, man. That was fun.
And the lightsaber battle, that was fun.
Yep.
But I remember I always had
we
that
broke
feeling.
Guinness that day.
Yeah.
Bro, we broke Guinness World Records for the largest lightsaber battle down in
was
San
fun
Diego.
time.
That was freaking cool.
Fun time.
That was cool.
And it was during like 4th of July, and I remembered the fireworks.
Oh, that was awesome.
It was really
That was
nice.
so cool.
But I remember like
Thank you.
no problem. When I first met the group and like we started doing like
The Bible studies.
the Bible studies, like I remember one of the first ones that we had. I think you were in my group too, and it was you, me, the main youth pastor, and I forget the other person. I think it was, I can't remember. But and then I remember one of the questions that I asked him. I was like, so, because it felt so like forced and like it was happening too fast, and I was just like, so like, what happens at the end of the 7 weeks? Are you still gonna like want to be friends with me if I don't feel like I'm ready to be baptized, or like, are you just gonna move on to the next person and forget about me? Like, how does? Because it just seemed like too forced.
Yeah.
Like,
So I did have a fortune of speaking with one of the people in the ICOC that were from Seattle, and they kind of told me that it is kind of weird because this person, in the Portland ICOC, kind of looks at the numbers more than they look at,
the people,
the relationships that you can create. And I was like, oh yeah, actually, I do see that. And it's kind of like more about the numbers rather than the true relationships you can create with other people. And it was kind of crappy.
Mm-hmm.
But recently I did go because I still remember where some of these people live, and I did go knock on the door because I wanted to say hi. It's been a long time, and I just wanted to be like, kind of check out, hey, how's it going? I know you had a kid recently, so and so, and so I wanted to say hi, but no, nothing.
No.
It was the weirdest thing too. I think in a Hispanic family we would never do this, but on the front door is like, don't knock, baby's asleep. I'm like, well, how am I gonna get a hold of you guys? And I know in a Mexican household, it's like if you knocked on the door, it's like people would go, oh, whoa, hey, here, or something like that. Whoa, hey, come on in here. But instead of be like, oh no, sorry, I know if the door would have been answered for me, it'd be like, oh, hey, how's it going? It's surprised to see you here. Which would have you could feel that you can feel it. It's not like it's something that like, oh damn, this person, they sound weird. But
And I remember what kind of made me decide to leave that group ultimately was because, like, I remember I had done this Groupon thing for this trampoline place, and I invited some of the group, and I invited like my cousin and some of my friends. And I remember they just like pounced on my cousin and they brought him into the fold. But then eventually, I remember one time my cousin called me and they're like, hey, you coming to the volleyball thing? And I was like, volleyball thing? When is that? And they're like, I'm headed there right now. And I'm like, oh, no, I didn't hear about it. And they were like, oh, I asked them if like they invited you, and they were like, oh, he couldn't make it. And I was like, no, they never even like asked me about it.
So my dad had, because he was part of that, he was in that church group.
Yeah.
And he was, he also stopped going, I think, much earlier than I stopped going.
Yeah.
It's like, I was still going, and he just didn't show up anymore. And I know some of the Hispanics in the ICOC would ask me, it's like, hey, where's your dad? We tried contacting him. And I told my dad, hey, they told me they contacted you. It's like, I don't have any missed calls.
Right.
I don't have any missed messages and missed calls. I'm like, oh, so they're lying then.
Right.
They're just trying to, like, say, show
like
face or whatever.
Push you out the group.
And
that's when I was like, okay, well, and for a while it had been like feeling like it wasn't really, it was feeling forced because I could tell it felt like they didn't really care about knowing me. They just cared about like
making the numbers. Making the numbers. We got one person, another person baptized, another person baptized. Check.
And when I was like, I don't feel ready to get baptized, mainly because I was still dealing with my identity stuff, and I'm glad that I didn't, because like now, like I know that when I do get baptized as who I really am, I'll be a lot happier, and I won't have any regrets, and I won't feel like.
Did you ever meet the guy Adam? Adam, his last name was Snow. No, he also went to PSU. I think. Okay, maybe this is nothing. He was an architect. He was studying to be an architect.
Sounds familiar. Can't remember.
similar to your height, actually. Similar to your height.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, well, I was,
Does sound familiar.
he's also he was also around the same time, that we were reaching out to him, and yeah, I think it was recently in the past 2 years, where I noticed on Facebook, because I'm still Facebook friends with him.
Yeah.
I haven't actually communicated with him just because I haven't communicated. Not that I don't want to. I'd love to communicate and catch up again, because I thought the guy was really cool. But I also saw, I think it was 2 years ago, that he finally came out. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Nice.
great. And I'm like, the guy has a relationship with his man.
Yeah.
And I was like, good, man. That's really cool. I really enjoyed you as a person, who you were, and I'm really glad you made another step forward to make your life more livable, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of weird, and I'm not saying everybody in that group was bad.
Right.
There definitely were some people that were extremely genuine and that really wanted to make connections with you. But obviously, they
clearly.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, no, I definitely don't like being two-faced. I definitely, anywhere I go, work, home, always try to be as straight as I can with anybody. There is kind of clear aspects with certain people that they kind of already have a blockade in front of them, and it's kind of like, difficult to get through, even just to create a relationship as a or a friendship. But yeah, anywhere I go, I'm always me.
Yeah.
Always me. I'm always trying to make sure I'm myself. That's because not that I wanted to be bullied when I was a kid by my older brothers, but it did make me who I am today. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all my learning lessons in life.
Because if you didn't have them, you wouldn't be the person you are. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel the same way. Like, even though this life wasn't the easiest, I'm really grateful that I am who I am, and I'm excited for the future. So
yeah. Totally agree. Well, do you want to say anything else, or do we want to save it for another podcast session, maybe?
Yeah, we can save it for another one, because.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll run ideas by you.
Sure, yeah.
See what you think, or if you want to do.
No problem. I think anything really, to be honest, any tangents that come across, I think they're totally fine. I want to, let's make it be as organic as possible. So yeah. Totally. Yeah, it was great having you on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. No, I'm glad that you were able to make it. I know the snow. I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh my god, I think this guy's taking the bus, and I wish he would mention something. I would have no problem with picking you up from the Max station or whatever. But anyways, yeah. Thanks everybody for anybody who tuned in. I really appreciate it. Continue supporting me. I hope I can make this an official thing where we can continue talking to anybody in the world. And if you're ever interested, I'm mostly going to be reaching out to people who I know, people that I have on my Facebook account primarily, or just people that I have their phone numbers. If you ever want to be on the podcast, let me know. I would love to have you just have your perspective on anything. It could be anything about religion, guns, whatever, etc. I mean, the world is really the limit. So yeah, just I'll start putting something on my Facebook. Just DM me, and we can get in touch, and we can talk about, realistically, whatever. Anyways, I'll put a link on the description, or I'll have those little bubbles or squares wherever, and to watch my previous videos. I'm also starting I started a moto vlog as well, and I have 3 episodes that are already one's been uploaded since I think February 9th, and the other 2 are going to be it's a saga, and then I'm going to continue creating these sagas. So I'm going to do kind of long road trips, and I might talk in them, or I might just put music in it, so it'll be scenery videos. But I won't have a separate channel yet for that. I'll just have a separate playlist on the same podcast Perceptions with Ever Mars. And yeah, thank you. Auf Wiedersehen, gute Nacht, buenas noches, and otsukare-sama desu. All right.
That was cool. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It was really cool.
Well, and it was cool.